Hello everyone and welcome. Make a cup of your favorite drink and get comfortable because this is a wonderful time for news stories from YellowCat. Send your own stories in the comments below and maybe they'll be in our new video. As a young professional, I am still getting used to dealing with clients, but today took the cake in terms of idiocy. What's your worst/funniest/strangest client story? As a graphic designer, I have to deal with a lot of people basically destroying all the hard work me and my coworkers put into a project. At first, I couldn't handle it. Now, I just find it funny to see where a project goes. But today, I had a client yell at me for telling me that the images we used were too low res for their Word document. Me, sorry, but we cannot boost the quality of the images we receive from you. If you have a higher res photo, we will have no problems placing it into the document for you. Client, but I gave you a vector photograph. Me, photographs do not come in vector files. Client, but it was a screen grab. The resolution should be larger than the image. What if I scan my monitor? Would that produce a higher quality screen grab? Me, how did you send us the last screen grab? Client, I took a picture of my computer screen with my iPhone. Not me. My former mother-in-law is the head of a department of education's IT department. She handles the budget and allocation of devices for an entire school district. She also fields the major malfunction calls herself. She had to go out to a school to replace a teacher's computer because the issue had escalated beyond her normal repair staff. The teacher, a tenured individual with 25 years experience, had gotten a virus somehow on her computer. So she exorcised it by pouring holy water into the machine and praying over it. I weep for our children's future. I freelance as a mobile/browser game artist. I draw and animate characters, user interfaces, environments, the whole 9 yards. Last year, I got a job from a client that I had worked with in the past. It was a fairly large job and the compensation was decent. The client had always paid up on the previous jobs I had worked with him on, so 3 months go by on the project before he tells me he's finally sent an initial check. I wait a week, don't get the check in the mail, and then email him about it. He tells me something must have gone wrong, he'll cancel the check and resend it. A week later, I tell him I really need to have that check before I can feel comfortable doing anything more on the project. The conversation we had follows. Client, you can't just demand that money out of the blue. Are you trying to jeopardize this project or something by not working on it? Me, I'm sorry, you told me that you would be canceling and resending the check last week. It's been 3 months since we started this. I've done more than 50% of the artwork on the project, and I can't continue to work unless you pay me. Client, I already spent the money. I don't have it anymore. Me, so you lied to me and spent the money you had already set aside for me. Client, you just don't understand the sacrifices I have to make as a small business owner. You're right, you piece of ass. I didn't understand. I didn't understand how you could be driving around in a BMW while I live off of ramen and turkey sandwiches. A client of ours sent out an email to our team which basically resulted in us completely having to redo his tax return. One of the managers on the account replied to our team about how this client always procrastinated and was a real brash D-head. Too bad she sent reply all, including our client. The minutes immediately following her reply were tense. The partner on the account was panicking and she was in tears for her mistake. Lucky her, the client responded with, "Haha, yeah, I can be a real a-hole sometimes," and found it hilarious. I once sent an email to my boss telling him about a proposal and saying that the potential client clearly has no idea what's going on. My boss forwarded the email to the guy asking if he could clarify. We did not hear back. I once sent an email to my boss in response to his query about a coworker who was clueless about our products. I described how our product worked and why coworker was incorrect in her assumptions. Boss forwarded it back to coworker, and coworker wrote an email saying how I had insulted her, called me unprofessional, and that I cast doubt on her abilities. She sent that to my boss, the head of HR, and to the company's CEO. CEO sent down a tersely worded email to HR to take care of the problem. I ended up having to apologize to the woman for pointing out her mistake in a politely worded email and follow up with a written apology that went into my record. That was 10 years ago. She quit, and I've been promoted several times since then. I had a roommate who worked in a collections call center for Discover Card. Awful job, he hated it. One day, he comes home laughing though and tells us how he called up somebody who had quit paying his bill months ago but kept spending. Usually, people will give a sob story about tough times, they've got a lead on a good job but they have to get their car fixed to be able to drive there, etc., and ask for more time. Not this guy. Nope, he wasn't just out of money, he was out of F's to give. Listen, kid, I'm gonna level with you. I'm old and I'm gonna die soon. You can't collect money from me when I'm dead, so frankly, I'm gonna keep spending and there's nothing you can do to make me change. Well, sir, you're delinquent enough that I can shut down your account now. You think you're the first one to try that? I've got a stack of pre-approved cards right here. Well, sir, what about a wife or kids? Do you really want to leave them nothing? Bunch of ungrateful asses. Do you know if they'll be on the hook for all my debts when I die? I really don't know. Well, I guess I'll just have to try it on faith, won't I? Now, you have a nice day, son. Click. I do inside sales for an IT consulting company. I had a client that ordered a docking station and keyboard through us. He called me and asked why he couldn't get anything to come up on the screen. Probably because he didn't order an effing computer. I work in a grocery store. We once had a sale on a big thing of fresh chicken. The wings were $9.90 and the breasts were $9.95. Weird pricing, I know, but the sign clearly labeled them correctly. There was also a display for close-dated chicken that was $3 off, and these were also clearly labeled. This jack-A guy comes up to my register with 3 chicken packages and throws them down on the belt. I smile and say hello, and he says, "How come you're charging me more for some chicken than the others?" I tell him because the chicken with the red label is close-dated and management needs to sell it quickly, therefore making it cheaper. He then started getting more aggressive. "Why in the H did you put out bad chicken? You a R or something?" At this point, I'm a little shocked, but I grab the chicken and ring it up. "Now wait a minute, I never said I wanted that chicken you're trying to poison me with." I ignore him, void the chicken off the transaction, and ask him if he needs help with anything. He retorts, "Yeah, you dummy, ring up my chicken." I'm starting to lose it a little, but I grab the first package of chicken, which happens to be close-dated, and scan it. I look up, and he's giving me the dirtiest look I've ever seen. I grab the second package, the $9.90 wings, and scan it. Immediately, "You overcharged me." I show him the sign and the label, but he still rants on about me overcharging him. Ready to get this guy out of my hair, I grab the last package of chicken, the $9.95 breasts, and scan it. Shockingly enough, he thinks I'm making a conscious effort to rip him off yet again. "You effing K, who do you think you are stealing my money like that?" After a solid 45 seconds of screaming, he finally pays the total and storms out. The story doesn't end there, however, as he returned the next day. My dad is the manager, and he swung a pretty nice deal on gallons of Simply Lemonade. He bought an incredible amount of lemonade and put them for sale at $1. Still in a bad mood from the night before, I'm peed when I see him strut up to my register. He throws the gallon of lemonade on the belt and gives me the glare. I make sure not to greet him this time. I scan the lemonade and tell him the total, $1.07. As you might expect, "You overcharged me." I reply, "No, I didn't." He goes on to tell me I'm a dummy as the sign says $1. I have to explain to him that his total is $1.07 because juice is taxable unless it has more than 70% fruit juice, and Simply Lemonade is only 11% lemonade. His reply? "You're an R. You're the reason this country is going down the S. I don't want your D-lemonade." He proceeds to grab the bottle and throw it at a display of paper towels nearby, causing quite a mess. He stormed out screaming, "I'm never spending a dime here again!" People are jackass and customer service positions suck. As a fellow graphic designer, I hope you will laugh with me over the following. Can you make it pop more? Add a red border to the text so it stands out. I changed the file extension from JPEG to AI, so you have the vector version now. And as a finale, getting sent 32 kilobyte files for print. I worked as a website designer a while back and had to meet with a girl who was basically a client's little bee, and she was just a nasty, stupid piece of work. Anyway, she would come down to the office and then go through the design bit by bit and explain what wasn't liked in a real condescending manner. After the 20th pointless and utterly frustrating revision, I kind of lost my cool and said, "Your boss is an effing mini Hitler." Her response still makes me shudder to this day. Who? I assumed she had misheard me, so I was like, Hitler? Adolf Hitler? World War II? Kinda big deal between the years 1939 and 1945? Silly mustache? Are you effing kidding me? Why are you still shaking your head? I honestly didn't believe people were that stupid. I bet she becomes the head of the company. A new employee of higher rank and pay than me brought me a paper document and asked me if I could make an electronic version of it so she could email it to someone. After looking at it, it was obviously recently printed on crisp paper. When I asked her where she got the printout, she said she printed it from her computer. I had no idea how to respond. We both worked in IT. A former divorce lawyer here. A client had a change of heart and decided not to go through with the divorce and instead dismiss the petition and stay married. This was promptly followed up with claims of not being required to pay since I didn't get the divorce as originally planned, even though I spent about 8 months on the case, and nasty voicemails accusing me of trying to break up the marriage in the first place. My boss gave a client a company car to drive, and 2 days later, he asked me to call her and remind her to return it by the weekend. So I called her up, reminded her, and she said she'd have it back on Saturday. Saturday rolls around, she doesn't return it. Sunday, no show. I called and left her a message that she did not return. Long story short, I called and left 8 or 9 messages over the next 3 effing weeks, asking her to return our call. Finally, she calls me back. "Minnie, this is Mrs. Doe. You need to come here right now and pick up your car. I have workmen coming and this car is in their way." Clearly, we have inconvenienced her by allowing her to park our car in an inconvenient spot, and she is upset. WTF? I replied, annoyed but professional, "Mrs. Doe, I'm afraid I can't make it there now. Can you please bring the car here since you live 2 miles away?" She is now even more upset. "No, I have things to do. You need to come pick up your car now." I told her I won't be available to pick it up until 11:30. If that's a problem, then you can bring the car here. She screams, "I have workmen coming. I'm paying them hourly and the car is in their way." So, it turns out the reason she kept our car so long was she had decided that instead of returning the car to us, she would go on vacation instead. While on vacation, she drained the battery to the point where even a battery pack couldn't jumpstart the car. I called a tow truck and then she calls again after running errands and returning home. "This car is still in my driveway." "Yes, ma'am," I replied. "We weren't able to jumpstart it. A tow truck is on the way." Unacceptable! Get this car now! Seriously, she was a very wealthy woman who was very much unaccustomed to not getting her way. The fact that she had demanded this car be gone and it wasn't magically made so not only upset her, but offended her. "Ma'am, I called our tow insurance and they called 3 local tow companies. The earliest available tow truck will be there by 5 o'clock. Her final demand was for me to call every local tow truck company in the area while she listened to make sure I did and see if any could be there faster. That was the point where I told her if the job I'm doing isn't adequate, she needs to contact my boss, and hung up. Thank you for watching. Guys, thank you for all of the support and likes. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed yet. See you next time.